Rakdos has returned to the Painted Snail. We are fighting the secret final boss here on the Apostate. Really excited to see how well we do, how high on the scoreboard we can get. As you guys know, we're grabbing a couple final upgrades here. Keeping in mind that we are going to be fighting the final boss, we actually get the 6-card draw per turn upgrade here at the Master at Arms. Huge upgrade for any profile. Gotta skip a lot of cards to build your way up to that one. And here comes the tragedy. And this is an incredible example of why when you're using the Blacksmith, there needs to be an indicator that the rune that you're selecting is equipped. Either you cannot select equipped runes, or it will let you know, hey, this rune is equipped, put it in a different slot, put it in a different category. I am fully set up to transmute these runes to get a very powerful thing going here. But what ends up happening is I click the wrong rune somehow, some way, and I realize this. I'm looking, I'm like, wait, what just happened? And I click on my runestones, and bam, the strongest rune in my whole build is gone. So I think to myself that this game needs that feature. And I think to myself, this will be an amazing thing to talk about in the video. And try not to get disheartened, especially because I had very high hopes that this could be a very high scoring run against the secret final boss. I throw in the polished gur, try to cope with a little bit of damage. We're not going to have nearly as much damage as we would have had, but I think it kind of makes me not want to mess with the Blacksmith. No, I keep my spirit. I'm like, all right, that was on me. I guess I should have paid attention. I know it tells you what level the rune is, which is what you're really supposed to be looking at, but it just, I've never felt that level pops out enough. It could not hurt to put in something that gave you an indication of what runes you had equipped. I mean, why would we be transmuting the runes that or exchanging the runes that we have equipped? Those are clearly our best runes. Maybe in some niche circumstances I could see it, but maybe I am just a little sad. We do end up getting 2 year runes on our armor, and as we've already spoken the praises of year runes so much, I felt like we didn't necessarily need them too much until now. We wanted the fights to go relatively quickly, and we still were able to end them in turn 1. Duplications tend to slow the fight down, especially when you can duplicate a lot of cards. So we're going to intentionally give ourselves a power boost here at the cost of slower turns. I think I realize I can do one more transmute, and we're doing this simply to get more of the runestone material. Keep this in mind if you're not doing this. At the end of every run, before you're about to fight the Avalonian or the secret final boss, definitely come to the Blacksmith and try to do as much rune switching, rune transmuting, and rune combining before you end the run. You're going to have quite a bit of mismatched runes in your inventory that you're not going to be using. And 9 times out of 10, there will be a way to utilize them and get a couple more combinations and squeak out a little bit more of that permanent upgrade material, that meta progression material each run. The exact same thing can be said for Tallow. I don't think I have fully explained my obsession with Tallow farming, but how I got so much weird candle power in this playthrough was to take 5 or 6 weird candles into the Avalonian and run back and forth across that path, burning my candlelight down. You receive the Tallow meta progression item every time the torch ticks down to one of those little niches, those little waypoints in the bar itself. Every time you see that blue circle pass by one of those, you're going to receive a Tallow. So all you have to do is run around, lower your blue bar, your light, down to about half, maybe a little bit more. Then activate a weird candle and boost it back up. And keep repeating this process. Every time the bar goes down below one of those little waypoints, you're going to get a Tallow. And this is the Tallow farming method that I was using to really just get so much Tallow early on and invest into the boss candle. I think that that's the best upgrade for the candle maker early on. But enough about strategy on the meta progression. Let's get into turn 1 versus secret final boss, the Essence. So huge thing here. I had to speed up a lot of this fight because this fight took me I think 2 hours. I'm going to leave turn 1 at normal speed, but the future turns I will speed up, and I will you'll see why. But turn 1's very important. We're going to try to deal as much damage as we possibly can. We're going to extend our combo for as long as possible. We're really thinking about how to maximize our arrows of destiny. Shots of destiny. And we're being very cautious about what to play, when to play it, because we have our duplicates. There we duplicated feints twice. Not a great opening hand, unfortunately, but you did see us use our consumable items. That reduces their armor, the yellow acid vial. I want their armor to be as low as possible early, because I know that their armor will be reduced to the cap of -500 near the later stages of the game. If I can have their armor be near that cap sooner, it will allow my max damage to get a little bit higher. Getting a pretty decent use of our ultimate ability there. I don't think we got the cost reductions we were looking for, but that ended up working out pretty well for us. We ended up having the duplicate from our passive on top of the duplicate from our runes. So we were able to play feints and duplicate it 3 times. Using an arrow a little bit inefficiently there just to get it out of our hand so that we can have our entire deck in our hand, because we definitely need overdraw. Overdraw is huge for our damage. So we were missing that the whole time. We could have had a lot more damage on turn 1. Yep, there we go. We're trying to duplicate the overdraw. We needed to play 1 card beforehand. We're counting our runes. And we still have idea. So now we can duplicate Overwhelming Insight, switching it back to the Overwhelming Insight mode. No, sorry. My apologies. We duplicated it so many times we got it to the Glimpse of Possibility mode. And now that that has been reduced to 0, after duplicating the Overdraw, we will be able to play it and have a third chance at reducing the cost of all of our maneuvers. And we've only used 2 of our 3 energy for the turn. We may have used our passive to gain that energy back, actually, so that might be our 4th energy for the turn. I think we did actually do that, but yeah, we were able to play a whole lot for not very much. And if this is how many maneuvers that I can play on 3 to 4 energy, what would it even be like if I had 10 energy? You know, what would it even be like if I had 50 energy? I mean, this turn itself has taken almost 5 minutes. I think about 5 minutes already so far. Not close to being done, and only on 3 energy. I actually did end up getting lucky enough to reduce the cost of the Overwhelming Insight. So we know we're going to get another whole round of maneuver plays. For not having Overdraw in our opening hand, we've already managed to push our power, our increased damage up to about 5,000. I think that says. I wonder why I did that there. Oh, for the duplicate. I gotcha. Yep. Yep, we continuously duplicate that card, which is allowing us to just keep our combo going. And at this point, we really realize, wait a minute. I only had 3 to 4 energy this turn, and I've already cycled my combo around like 5 times. I've already reduced the cost of all of my maneuvers at least 5 times, and it's just, if I get lucky, it just keeps happening. So this combo is not infinite, but it's so much, as you can see the damage on that Shot of Destiny there, it's so much that it might as well be considered infinite. And then you'll really see where the floodgates break open here in about, oh yeah, this turn 1 still does keep going for quite some more time. I'm looking at the timer here now. Yep, I was able to use my my full flip from using the quiver, which did give me cost reduction and allowed me to switch Stunning Idea to Idea. Someone in the comments count for me how many times I cast the card Overwhelming Insight and how many times I reduce the cost of all of my maneuvers to 0 outside of their own cost reduction to 0 that they're providing. I think we're at 8,000% increased damage. 9,000. Getting lucky. The cost reduction is chaining. And by having less cards in our hand that are not maneuvers, and having primarily maneuvers in our hand, we really don't have too much of a chance to botch this. You know, some of the cost reductions are going to land on the cards you need them to land. We just watched Furious Overdraw get cost reduced 2 or 3 times in a row right after it being played. You know, I play it and the very next card I play reduces it to 0 and allows me to play it again. we're still going to be able to do at least one more cycle here. Just keeping an eye on Furious Overdraw. There it goes. Number 4. Just getting reduced for free. I think we might have accidentally duplicated something we didn't need to over there. Let's see. And you can imagine how hard it is to keep track of your duplicates throughout an entire turn like this. You know, knowing that you duplicate every 4th card played. Sometimes, you know, because the turn is so long, you just, wait, where am I at in this track? You look over at your little counters. Oh, I flipped 129 cards. Where exactly does that put me? Okay, everything else on the right-hand side that's blocking out the sun and all of my grave and exile says 60-something. Something says 76, you know. Nothing is going to be a clear indicator at where you are in your rune combo. So I think an easy way to remember it is if you get lost, just keep an eye out for the next card duplicated. As soon as you see that duplicate go off, now you know where you're at again. You know, now you know you can reset, start counting 1, 2, 3, duplicate. I am so curious as to how many times I cast Overwhelming Insight in this turn 1. It is just ludicrous. Comments, help me out. I definitely was not going to count while I am recording this and trying to narrate what's going on, but let me know how many times I cast this card. Oh my goodness. Just reliving this makes me so proud. And seeing this, you might be thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, like you've truly broken it. You must score like number 1, you know, because of how ridiculously busted this is. This seems so much more busted than any of the other classes that I've been playing, kind of thing. Well, you would be wrong. You'd be very wrong. These scoreboards for this class are super competitive. Super competitive. And I learned that. I learned that by placing on them at the end of this run. But I still did place in the single digits. Yep, gonna drop that little morsel here 18 minutes in. And you will get to see where I land right at the end. Almost, yep, there it is. 20,000% increased damage. Still going, still turn 1. And you can be technical and say that this isn't truly infinite damage, and I would fully agree with you. But I will say that this is so much damage that it might as well be infinite. And keep in mind that this is exactly what I could have done on any turn 1. This is every turn 1 for me. Nothing special happened this fight that I could not have already done. So I could achieve this level of power in every fight before, or, you know, even if there was an after this boss. You know, this is just how strong I am with this much energy. Yes, it is still going. And at this point, you know, I had been playing this run for a very long time because I did not take breaks. I just played it straight through. I you know, said at the beginning of this series for the Apostate that I really don't like this class. And fighting the secret final boss in the run before this run really made me despise this class, because it was this, but I didn't have the patience for it at the time. And I really didn't want to sit here and click all these cards, and I really didn't want to sit here and count to 4 for minutes on end. And I wasn't having it. But as you can see, even though I, have been sitting in this chair for 3 hours, 4 hours, I am just doing my very best to play these cards in the right order, make sure that I'm getting as many casts as I possibly can. I finally look at my hand here. I'm like, okay, like, do I play the shots to, like, help my cost reduction? And this is my thought now. I'm like, I play the shots to help, get my duplicate that I needed, truly, but also to ensure that the cost reduction is landing where I need it to land. The less cards I have in my hand, the less cards can be targeted by the random reduction in cost happening when I flip. So now we're going to be even more consistent. Shooting for that 30,000 damage percent increase. We're getting there. Overdraw is helping a ton. I think the choice of items that we chose for this fight was okay. I'm going to stop taking potions into this fight because you really shouldn't take damage in either of the final boss fights. So I'm going to stop taking potions. And I think that the herbs that I have 4 of there are ones that increase my damage by 100% for a couple turns. That's not too bad. The armor reduction was the best thing that I could have brought, because there was no way that I was going to get him to max armor reduction. Wait, is he at max armor reduction? Oh, I think I reduce his armor when I flip. Yeah, I might have definitely not needed that at all. Just kidding. Maybe my items were not as good as I thought. Alright, I'm going to sit back and watch alongside you and drink some coffee here. We're going to just enjoy the flipping. Maybe a little bit of coffee ASMR. Sorry about that. Alright. Where are we at? Trying to see start of the fight versus now. Yeah, we've been in the first turn for about 15 minutes. Some of you might be catching on to my naming strategy when it comes to the titles of my videos. Every first video in the True series is going to kind of allude to how the deck ends up playing out in the end. I know the first True Apostate video said actually infinite damage, and during that first area we don't achieve such a thing, but it's a foreshadowing, if you will, to the beautiful future that the deck will have. Are we almost out of gas? We got no energy left, so we're really just relying on the cost reductions. Although they are coming through for us. We do want to land our duplicate on Shot of Destiny. It's very important that we duplicate Shot of Destiny when we have a chance. We kind of want to do everything else first, of course. Truly everything else first. But if it compromises us being able to duplicate Shot of Destiny, then we definitely take the duplicate as opposed to playing it as our final card. We want to duplicate both of them. Overdraw gets reduced again. I'm like, please Please quit getting reduced. I just want to have turn 1 end. And that incredible resolve that I was talking about playing the cards correctly and, you know, making sure that I was going to score very high, it is actually getting eroded away here, even in this first turn, when I realize that turn 1 has already taken 20 minutes, and my future turns are going to take longer than this. I'm going to have more power on my future turns. I'm just like, how long am I going to be sitting in this chair fighting this boss? You know, these are some thoughts that are haunting me at the moment. I did get the duplicate, and remember, that duplicates 2 times, so that was 3 shots of destiny. Oh my goodness, it actually was the energy herb. So that also is a bad thing for me to bring in here. So my items were awful for this. Do not do what I did. But I think that I ate that so that I could duplicate this shot of destiny. Yes. No. No. Did I really think duplicating that was going to be better? Huge misplay. Huge misplay. I could have got way more damage. I don't care how much each of these little arrows are doing. Shot of Destiny was going to do way, way, way more. And now I have all these little cards in my deck. No, that was a misplay. But I end the first turn with almost as much damage dealt as the end of my Lich run, I think. I did as much damage in turn 1 here as I did at the end of my Lich run. Yeah, now you see all these weak shots cluttering up my hand. It was a super bad idea to play things the way that I did there. Yeah, and you will see something that I don't notice yet. I'm really like focusing on my hand being all clogged up. I'm like, man, how am I going to recover from this? Okay, guess I'm just going to overdraw and try to draw cards. And then I notice it. I see it. 1, 6, 7. We are going to speed the game up now because I realize that I have infinite resources. If I was able to do as much as I did last turn with 3 to 4 energy, as I've been alluding to, what do you think I can do with 150? And as soon as I see that 150, I immediately abandon my resolve for maximum damage. What you're going to notice me doing here is being incredibly, unrealistically inefficient with my power, my damage. What I should be doing is playing all of those 0 costs and letting my cost reduce chain just like I did in the first turn, and not using my energy when I can, and just playing as many maneuvers as I possibly can. But let me tell you that if it took me 23 minutes to do turn 1 with 4 energy, I would have died in this chair. I would have become a skeletal frame. I would have wasted away. No amount of help would have revived me. I just couldn't. My brain would have melted if my physical body didn't deteriorate. Like, there was no hope. So I want you to know that regardless of how high I score on this final scoreboard, instantly, this is turn 2, I could have scored way, 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 way higher had I had the patience and been made of robot parts. But because neither of those two things are true, I decide whatever I'm going to do here with this much energy is going to be plenty of damage. Absolutely plenty. And as you can imagine, I mean, we're on ×5, ×6 speed right now. These turns still take a ridiculously long amount of time. And if I had played turn 1 as efficiently as I should have played it, instead of starting turn 3 with 160 some energy like I just did, I would have started turn 3 with 500, maybe even 600 energy. And then if I would have played that turn as efficiently as the deck could play, then the next turn I would have 1,000 energy easily. I hope you can see where this is going. The infinite in this is not exaggerated. Truly, the damage you deal to this final boss as the Apostate is limited only by your patience, your willpower, and your body's ability to keep you alive while you're sitting here playing. That is the only limitations you have with your damage when you're playing the Apostate. So go as hard as you want. Sit here, play as many maneuvers as you want. Or conversely, just get up enough block to tank his hit and deal some damage and pass the turn. Either way is totally fine. And ultimately, I'm starting to believe that this boss is not the boss that we really should be fighting at the end of every run. I think that this boss is a boss that's in the game to challenge us when we feel like we can do something and we want to prove ourselves. But I think that if we're trying to play casual runs, maybe if we put some casual runs up on our channel, the Avalonian might be a little bit more suited, even though we will probably one-shot him every single time with every single class. I really think that boss needs a buff. That boss really needs a buff. I've never found the final boss that the game first provides you offered any kind of a challenge. Maybe the first time or second time, but after that, he was pretty easy. Overdraw, 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 overdraw. We flood our deck. At this point, we actually learned something pretty cool. As you can see, my deck consisted of like 19 weak shots because we duplicated our quiver with a full hand. So all of those cards went into our deck. So what we're doing now is we're keeping an almost full hand while we are comboing, allowing us to use our Apostate passive to draw through our deck. So we play a couple overdraws, throw out a weak shot. Play a couple overdraws, throw out a weak shot. Play some maneuvers, throw out a weak shot, so on and so forth. And this actually lets us do a whole lot more small little fluff damage each turn with our crazy damage boost that we have. If you think about it, with plus 20 to 30,000 increased damage, every single attack is going to hit very hard, even those weak shots. So having 19 extra instances of damage on every one of our turns will equate to a lot of extra damage. So I think that helped in our ascension on the scoreboard, even though we kind of messed up that duplicate on turn 1, which did set us back a lot of damage. Doing the duplicate, filling our deck full of weak shots and playing them periodically throughout the turn, I think ends up boosting our damage. And as you can see here, we're ignoring all those zero cost cards. We really should be playing them. We are just burning out our energy playing overdraw as many times as we can, because we cannot survive in this chair for as long as this deck would require us to play this final fight perfectly. And this, I feel, should bring into question the passive, 191 energy, the passive that allows you to gain an energy every time you flip a card. Is that a little too strong? I actually feel like it's strong and obnoxious. You know, like I could have taken this entire fight with 3 energy the whole time and still felt like my survival was in question if I took every single turn as seriously as the first. So having, 100, 200 energy, managing that can almost feel like a chore. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you could just hit the end turn button and ignore all that energy sitting there, but I'm not strong enough to do that. I always feel incredibly inefficient when I do that, and I just, I really want to use all the resources presented to me, but when I'm presented with this much resource, I'm like, oh geez. We have gone through 5 turns so far. He's got 10 turns left. We are still doing that trick where we're filling our draw pile up with weak shots and playing them periodically through the turn. If we wanted to be as efficient as possible, we should be playing all these zero-cost maneuvers in between these overdraw casts. Like I said, we could infinitely ramp up here. We don't quite have the patience or the fortitude for that, but it is still possible. And I do really want to score high on the scoreboards here. I know I'm going to be making this video, so I want it to be as high as I can make it. So I don't want to just end the turn. I do want to do a lot of damage, but the amount of damage that I miss out on here by playing the way that I do is insane. Insane. I could have easily doubled or tripled my damage. And this is why the scoreboard for the Apostate is so competitive. The scores of number 1 versus the scores of number 5, the first place is almost triple the score of 5th place. Because really, the test of Apostate for how much damage you can deal is who has the most time. If you build your deck in this manner, I guess. There could be some other ways to build this class, but in my opinion, this is the true Apostate right here. This is what they were meant to do. This is what they're capable of, and you should be seeking to do the most powerful thing that the class is capable of. I find a hard time finding something more powerful than this. Playing overdraw till the sun legitimately burns out. Our bow must be so drawn. You would think that the string would just snap and explode being drawn that many times. And I think that we're duplicating the damage cards here at this point. I think I realized that because of how high my percent increased damage is, it actually is more effective to duplicate the weak shots. Because, as I stated earlier, every little instance of damage is going to be huge because of how high our damage is. So per turn, the more attacks we can dish out, more overall damage we are going to do. It makes us do more damage by playing 10 extra attacks than it does by playing overdraw 10 more times. That's the most simple way that I can put it. And look at that damage dealt. Crazy numbers. I think that's 8 turns left. And I think I have a hiccup in my combo at some point here. At least I remember something happening where I had to kind of reset myself. What I think I did was duplicate idea on accident. And like I've been warning throughout the series, duplicating certain cards at the wrong time can really, really hurt you. Idea being one of them, and a card you will always have in your hand. So there's always that chance when you are, trying to mess with the power of the duplicates. when you duplicate idea, you're going to lose your whole hand, all your maneuvers. Oh my gosh, this. So I'm looking through the options for a button that will let me cast my cards, because I don't think I can click anymore. I'm pretty sure that this fight alone destroyed my mouse, because I just clicked millions and millions of times in that one singular spot. And you see it flipping pretty fast now, but know that at regular speeds, the cards don't really flip this fast. And when you have this many cards in your hand, the hand does this weird thing where it bugs out, and it can't exactly tell which card you're hovering over sometimes. I kind of try to get it down to a science in a very specific location. As you can see where my mouse pointer is, it's working out pretty well. And then I find that it works out kind of well to slowly shake the mouse as you're casting, just so that the card kind of pulls itself to the front. I'm like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. 7 turns left. I'm like, you can do this. You can make it. All right, I'm gonna let the music take it from here, and I'll pop back in at the end to comment on the score we got and to thank you guys for watching. here we are at the end. We fumbled through the last couple turns, just trying to push through it. Still trying to deal, quote unquote, as much damage as possible. And we finish it up. Super solid run, really low score. We get the speed reset back down to normal. And we score in 8th place on the leaderboard. Check out these scores. Number 1, Galathan. Man, you must be a robot. Got like 3 times my score, something like that. Really competitive here. This was a ton of fun. Leave your comments down below. Questions. If this has been entertaining or educational, definitely let me know. As always, peace. Peace.